Russell Wilson has been called an L7, a dork, a cornball so many times by so many other black men who are actually cornballs.
You need to be aware of late stage morality. Older women tend to come back later on and shame you into or out of doing something. Describe, let's talk about it.
I want to ask this. How much of having multiple women and sleeping with so many women has to do with the value that a man sees in himself? Society looks at a man who says, nah, like I'm 30 and I'm a virgin, as like, you're laughing at it. See, I'll keep it real. Russell Wilson has been called an L7, a dork, a cornball so many times by so many other black men who are actually cornballs, who are actually womanizers. A womanizer is a cornball, is low functioning. A man who cannot manage himself and his sexuality and his sexual appetite is a man who cannot govern himself.
I respect it, but it's just like, bro, like, at least
bro, what?
Once,
say it, bro, what?
At least
keep it 100. At least once what?
Like, you ain't been around the block. You haven't had sex at least one time.
Tell me what that one experience would do for him.
I support it, but like, I think that's probably the younger side of me.
But is that the younger side of you, or is that the societal influence side of you?
Society influence. And again, too, roles reversed. I would want a woman that literally hasn't had anybody touch her. You know what I mean? Before I can actually commit.
Why? What's the value in her? What's the value in her?
She hasn't been touched.
What's the value in not being touched? Does that make her more of yours?
Yeah, like, like, all right, cool. Like, this is my lady.
She's innocent.
So to be fair, sometimes people have guests on that are not really on their same communicative level, same level of intellect. And I think that's, where Dr. Sharon Brand here, or, Dr. kind of outstays them here. But we can have this conversation, right? We can talk about this. One of the very simple things is when you come back later on in your life and try to say, well, this is immoral or this is wrong. Now, it's hard for a lot of us to believe that because this is a sudden revelation upon you. You want to inject the morality when you get older, when you don't have any other way to get men, especially younger men or older men, in line with the way you think. So what we go back, it's one of the shaming techniques. We're just going to inject morality and say, this is low functioning. This is low value. No. Part of the reason why we look at men that have that sleep with multiple women, right? And follow me for a second. We look at them as success. We look at them as valuable because being able to sleep with a woman was supposed to be difficult. It becomes a question of prowess, of ability, of not just, as men know, and the dating app show that everything shows that women can be highly selective. They could be, hypergamous when they're trying to decide who they give themselves to. It was never this easy, and yes, it is easier now to do it, but that effect is still a trailing one, where you look at a man and says, yo, you sleep with women of this sort of caliber, this sort of level of beauty regularly. How do you do it? People pay money to learn about this. People pay money to learn from these people, to sit at their feet, to understand this, because to men, being able to sleep with a woman is still something that we consider to be valuable. To the other part of the conversation, it becomes very simple. We understand that the more access or the more, dicks that a woman has, she doesn't tend to settle down. So when we get you earlier, we see that, okay, when we actually take the time, we get to know each other, we have sex, we bond easier than if you were bonding with someone that's been around the block multiple times, or been around the neighborhood multiple times. You can look at it just in terms of the natural levels of dopamine and serotonin, that when you don't sleep around, you tend to pair longer with the person. This is one of the reasons that men look at that and say it's pristine, it's more valuable. It's not so much, we're not want to talk about the morality aspect of it, because again, when we try to inject these things late in the game, it's never in a very neutral sort of way. This is coming from a woman who, when she wants to talk about morality, but when it was a Jeezy's party, where she came in a revealing dress, it's very convenient. It's a very easy thing to switch and say this or that when it just makes that point, especially when you're talking to young men that don't really are not really great at articulating the point of what they're trying to say. But before we continue, like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss no uploads. Still going strong, still trying to do 2 a day. So hype the video, share the video. We got merch in the store. So again, this is a very easy concept for us to understand, but sometimes it becomes harder to articulate it. We know that it's difficult, or it should be difficult to sleep with women. So men that seem to do it well for whatever reason, either what they're saying, their status, what they've done with their life, the amount of money they have. This is why younger men, or men in general, trying to emulate that. They want to understand what is it about this, because for us, until we clear a lot of that lust, and we'll give her credit with that, we still put this as such a high pedestal. People that are able to do this regularly are set at a higher echelon. We often see Russell Wilson being put forward as saying, oh, but because he has sort of control over his lust, that this is a better man, or people get clowned for that. One of the reasons he got clowned for it because he decided, I'm going to get Sierra after she'd been with Future, and the two people could not be more diametrically opposed. We see as men, this is a conversation for men right now, what happens when you were the square and you had to wait your turn for her to come around and say, I'm done dealing with those type of men. This is who I want now. It's the quintessential example of what men don't want to do. They don't want to wait around for you to have your fun, to learn the lesson, then to come around and look at me and say, I'm going to give you a chance. You just have to deal with the baggage I've had from these type of relations, from these type of men, and sometimes the physical manifestation of my relationship with them. I have a kid now. Now it's incumbent upon you to accept what I did with him, that mistake, the public nature of that relationship. It's not just that, okay, you are with Sierra and this kid's from Future has how many, he's still doing that. That's the type of man you want. That's the type of man that you realize you could not stay with. But it's not a thing that it's in some small city somewhere we don't know about. I don't know about your past. I can look and see it. It's documented. It's all there. That's why men look at that and say, this is not something we want to emulate. And I want to say the majority of men, if they had a choice to say, who do you want to be like? Future, Russell Wilson, people, they're going to say Future. Because again, even though you want to say it's the moral high ground, being chaste, being selective, and we understand that. But when men have the ability, not so much that you're sleeping around with a bunch of women, we can understand how detrimental that can be. But when you have the ability, the prowess to do so, men are looking at it and say that's a difficult thing for you to pull off. On average, that's a very difficult thing for most men to pull off. So that's why we value that. Leave the morality alone in these conversations, because once you sweep that aside, you'll find that when they're trying to shame you, they don't really have a leg to stand on. Oh, it's low value. How? No, it's low vibrational, like she likes to say. No, how? If it's a skill issue, and most men cannot do that, men are gonna look and say, I want to do what most people can't. That's it right there. In the crudest forms, yeah, you have access to multiple women. Women will say yes to you more than they will say yes to someone else. You got to be doing something, right? That's how we look at it. Don't let someone come around later on, especially older women later on in their life, and try to shame you, say you shouldn't do that, especially when they cannot produce a level of success in that arena that they're purporting you should do. If you have all the answers, you can show it. You can just show, hey, this is what I'm talking about. This is why this works. The fact is, as beautiful as Sierra is, most men don't want to be Russell Wilson. Most men don't want to be in that position. So again, be careful of this late stage morality. When I suddenly found it, now I'm going to apply it, and men just have to sort of go against what they think, with their nature, even when they can't really communicate it properly. That's just not for us. Again, you don't have to necessarily sleep with multiple women. You can understand the detriments behind that, but knowing that a man can, knowing that multiple women want that man for whatever reason, status, his money, humor, the mouthpiece, whatever. Men look at that and say that's something to emulate. But if you disagree, let me know down in the comments below. If you see other videos on your screen, check those out. Let me know your thoughts about those in those videos, of course. And if you listen to some of us now, we have not subscribed, I think you should. You're trying to build something dope. I'll see you in the next one.